Hi everybody, it's Karen from Divorce Workshop. Back to doing our lives after a bit of a break. Waiting for
And divorce. I'm looking forward to this topic. Hi, Neepa.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Good. How are
Good,
you?
good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this discussion today because uh, I don't really have a lot of knowledge in this. So today we're going to talk about the cultural differences in divorce. And if you want to tell our viewers, what do you mean by that? Like, what is the topic? Like, what is it, the major discussion point I meant?
So, um, when in divorce, when you are either in your own country, and
Mm-hmm.
especially if you are an immigrant and expat living in another country, but you still follow, you still have roots of your own culture. Culture meaning it could be just
Mm-hmm.
family culture, or what I'm talking about is basically the culture, entire culture being from your own country, maybe from your religion, and
Mm-hmm.
even the family culture. And that also sometimes impacts your divorce because the way you process your mindset, the expectations, are different. So even
Mm-hmm.
if both the people, like her spouse, both the spouse are from the same culture, but living in a different country, that different country has a different culture, that may also impact, your divorce and the decision and the process of divorce. And
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, if you both are from a different culture, and then living together as a married couple and divorcing, then there is an additional influence of both the cultures that also impacts your divorce, your decision, and going forward your children and the custody and how to co-parent as well. So this is what I am referring to when I say
Mm-hmm.
cultural differences in divorce. Yeah.
Do you have some, first of all, just to get a good idea of the lay of the land, do you have some good example, an example that you could give us that can help people understand this better?
Yes, I can give you, like, say, let's start from family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, there are some countries where still divorce is a stigma, or
Mm-hmm.
there is a joint family culture, or we would say the society is such that people should respect the family, and you are from that culture, and then if you are not happy in your marriage, and
Mm-hmm.
you prefer divorce is a better option for your life and for your
Mm-hmm.
future, but there are a lot of restrictions. First of all, what will people say? Will my family support it? And then, if yes, I have seen examples. When you're asking example, I
Mm-hmm.
have seen when people take a decision that, okay, no matter what, I cannot continue with this marriage, and they decide, in from such culture, if they decide to get out of it and take divorce,
Mm-hmm.
I have seen sometimes that your own family members or your friends and close people, dis- like, distance from you. They look at you with differently
Mm-hmm.
now, and they may try to not keep the same kind of relationship with you because they
Oh.
have that kind of, like, the barrier that how can I be a friend or in close relation with this person who are divorcing. So yes, I have seen,
Mm-hmm.
and that what happens is it emotionally also impact the person who is divorcing. When such kind of culture is there, they feel that there is no support, nobody's understanding me, am I taking the right decision? So they sometimes eventually, okay, right now I have taken the decision, but gradually, or a period of time, when they see the people are looking at you differently, then you start
Mm-hmm.
getting into your own, the guilt, that fear, that anxiety, or that thing that, okay, am I taking the right decision, or did I take the right decision? So that actually succumbs all your emotions, suppress your emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
you are not able to process it emotionally. And once you have mental blockage, the emotional blockage, then you cannot think through. And in that case, your future may get impacted too, your health get impacted, and then that definitely
Mm-hmm.
impacts your kids and kids well-being as well. So I have seen in many countries where the countries have those which are not liberal. The
Hmm.
especially where there is no direct communication. This is like I would say Western culture versus Asian culture. You know, I
Hmm.
have seen that in Asian cultures, this is little more restricted. This is more um, looking at divorce still as a kind of non-acceptable thing.
Yeah, I mean, we still, I still feel even Western societies, we still have some stigma
Yes,
associated with divorce. But I think what you're saying is that it's more ingrained still in more of the Asian culture. And
yes,
that's unfortunate because we know how important in our work we do, how important support is through all this.
exactly,
So it must
exactly.
make the decision even harder, right? Like
Mhm.
it weighs, like
Mhm.
I know for me personally, the decision was hard.
Of
It
course.
weighed on me as well. But I'm
Mm.
assuming that it's because of such cultural strong
Yes.
roles that it would be harder to
Yes.
make this decision because you're not going to just break up the immediate family, but there's going to be a lot of some consequences that
Consequences.
yeah that are going to be harder than maybe what most of us in Western society
Yes.
would think.
Yes, yes, and I have also seen like as an I mean as I would say it's not an example, but the trend that where such cultures are there, you know, and that the family culture is more important, the joint family culture, or where you live as per the trend of the society, and then you
Hmm.
decide to take. I mean, in those cases, there is an influence of the extended family as well. I'm not talking about divorce, but in general, when
Hmm.
there is a married couple, say, let's take an example that a married couple who is from other country has a different culture now living here in this country with a western country, say for example Canada or
Hmm.
USA, and they are married, but there are extended families, say in-laws,
Hmm.
they still prefer to interfere in this couple's life from that
Hmm.
country, the home country, and they try to ensure that they live as per the culture of that country, or they still follow the tradition or the stuff. But they don't understand that here in this country, if you are living in this country, you need to follow certain
Hmm.
things as per this country norms and culture as well. And that continuous pressure, continuous, influence also impacts the couple here in this country.
Hmm.
And if one of the spouses is not strong enough and they try to grab that pressure from the extended family, and then what happens, it extends the differences in the couple itself, and
Hmm.
the couple starts getting conflicted, and it also leads to eventually a divorce. I have seen this in many,
Hmm.
many cultures that the reason of the divorce is not the between the couple, but from the external sources, and especially external extended family, and then it leads to eventually a divorce. And that is very sad and disheartening that okay, the couple is happy, but due to some external factors they go through this whole divorce thing. So I have seen this another very strong influence.
Yeah, that's really tough, right? It's hard enough to maintain a healthy marriage, and those external factors. I
Mm.
had it myself actually.
Mm.
It can really cause havoc, and
Yes,
it's unfortunate, as you said, very sad. And I was surprised to hear how common it is, but you're saying it's quite common.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
which is
Yeah.
so. Do you have any like tips or help that any of the people watching that can like you can help them with because it is a big thing, right?
Yes.
Because culture is just it lives within us too, right? Like it's part of
Yes.
us too. So it's not
Yes.
as easy just to say, "Oh, I'm in USA now, so I'm a USA person, like
No.
American," right? Like some of it's still in you. So do you have any tips about that?
Yeah, and you rightly said, and it is also not recommended to just leave behind your own culture because it's in your
Hmm.
genes. It's
Hmm.
there. That's how you were brought up. You don't
Hmm.
want to just let it go, but how to manage it, how to cultivate it, and club it with your current situation so that it turns into positive opportunity for you. So in the tips, I just say that whatever situation or condition you are in, or wherever you are in the whole world, if you think that you are not happy in the relationship, or rather I would say if you feel that you are stuck in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, that then think about it, take a step either way. If you think that you are stuck, being stuck is so harmful and dangerous in long run, for your own sake, for your kids, and for your health, because you are not able to take any action, you are keeping everything inside, so that eventually lead burst. It can burst in your
Mm-hmm.
health issue, it can burst into your child psychology, or it can damage your future.
Mm-hmm.
So my tip is, take a step either way. Either you try to make your marriage work, take help of any professional like a marriage counselor or a therapist, or any close people you can think you can, to make your marriage work with a happy mindset as a happy couple or happy family. But you think that's not possible, then take the first step the other side for your divorce. Educate yourself and see what are your options. Because if even if your culture doesn't support it, even if your family doesn't support it, it's your own life, it's your own
Mm-hmm.
future, and it's your, if your kids future is also connected with you. So
Mm-hmm.
take the first step, see what are your option in that those limitations, and take out. Say, in my own example, I'm from India, and India is a culture where they always prefer joint family, or it's a collectivist society, and still divorce is a stigma. But if you are living in this country, the Western country, you know that you have limited support. But once you take the first step, trust me, you will find your way out. The tip
Mm-hmm.
is, don't get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Take it either way and make it work. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah, I think you're right. I was thinking about the support systems there because you know me as a grief counselor and coach and all that. I think like we need to talk about that another time, Neepa, about the
Mm-hmm.
grief associated with that all because like
Yes.
support is you know, divorce is extremely stressful, so support is essential. And I'm just, you
Good.
know, if you can't, a lot of us, I didn't have my parents because they had both died, but a lot of
Oh.
people rely on their parents, right,
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
guidance or for support or to live with or whatever. And when you don't have that because your parents um, are not supportive of this decision,
Mm.
even just to talk on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
that can make it really hard.
Yes. Yes.
So that's another thing to consider is maybe to, you know, to get
Yes.
support, right? Like, you know,
Yes.
that'll help you become unstuck, right? So,
Exactly. Exactly. And especially and when you know that you are into this situation, then you have to prepare yourself. And in today's world, there are a lot of support groups available, even virtual support groups, or groups which are from your own culture, or
mhm,
there are a lot of professionals who are out there to help you. What you need to do, that find out your resources, check
mhm,
what support you can get, and trust me, there is support available. It's not that but sometimes what happens is, when we think that, oh, my culture, my society, my family is not supporting me, then I take a step back. I get into that mindset that, oh, I have nobody with me, and then
mhm,
I just stop myself from taking the first step. But think beyond. Okay, they are your well wishers, they always think good for you, but maybe they don't have that mindset, or maybe they haven't been through this situation, so
mhm,
they don't understand how to support you. Respect them.
mhm,
But there are people out there who've been through this situation, who are trained, who are professional to
mhm,
support you. Just go out and find what are the other options you have, and ensure that you have some support. When there is a support, even as you say, just a phone call support is also very, very helpful. So yeah,
yeah,
if one door is closed, there are different other doors which can open for you to help you.
yeah.
That's true.
Is there anything else you want to mention before we close up this topic for today?
Another thing, like in the cultural differences, there are a lot of things that we come across that
Hmm.
impacts divorce. Of course, I think we should take one such live for children, the co-parenting, custody,
Hmm.
when there is a cultural difference. But we can definitely talk at some other time because it's a
Hmm.
whole big topic altogether. Another, just the thing that I have observed, I just want to share with
Hmm.
you is that even in financial support, it's like for the custody, not custody, I would say property distribution during divorce. Sometimes it's again a cultural thing in some of the society and cultures where it's a gender driven financial plan. Like, for example, always the male or the husband manages the finances, and not the wife. And if you're coming from that kind of culture and there is a property distribution, all husband always has a mindset that, okay, this is my property, this is my money and stuff, and I'm not ready to share with my wife. And the wife being there in a marriage for a long time, not having any access or control over the finances, they feel so depleted, they feel
Hmm.
so dependent to take the step that what will happen to me if I get out of this marriage,
Hmm.
because I don't have any control, I don't have any access or information about the finances or the
Hmm.
property we have. And I have seen this, the husband tells the wife as well, I will ensure that you don't get anything, I will
Hmm.
ensure that you are on the street. So in this cultural thing as well, and also the culture support said, okay, always husbands manages, how can wife ask for money. And some countries also have such rules, like not all the countries has legal rule. Here in USA, and I think I'm sure in Canada as well, it is 50-50
Hmm.
distribution concept. It could be 56 40 60,
Hmm.
but you
Yeah.
generally it's the standard 50-50, but not in all the countries. In
Um,
all, so if you're coming from those countries that you carry the mindset that there is nothing like I should share 50-50, and the rule of those countries also support it, then in that case that financial distribution also becomes so conflicting. And then
hmm.
I have seen the difference in the people who are from here who are going for property distribution, and people who are from those kind of culture have lengthy divorce process,
Yeah.
have more conflicting divorce process,
Hmm.
because one spouse is not ready to share anything, but the other spouse has the right to get it. So they keep on fighting for it, and it gets so prolonged, it gets so expensive, and it leads to a lot of conflict. So this is another big cultural difference I have seen in divorce, if
Yeah,
that
and,
makes
and that
sense.
leads to, again, what we talked about before, exhaustion,
Mm-hmm.
stress levels.
Mm-hmm.
Money anxiety is also, it's pretty common with a lot of married people. We actually have a test in our divorce workbook coming out because of that, because we fear what we don't know, and and that's another thing. But yeah, it's definitely really important that they look at, they try to investigate somehow before or during the divorce what they can do about that property that the ex-husband is saying is all his. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there is that would something you would tell him to do, is kind of try to investigate or try to figure out what they are like allowed, or what the law states in that country about property.
You mean from the other country?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but the thing is, if you're divorcing here in USA and you're
Mm-hmm.
following the rules of this country,
Mm-hmm.
then of course you go by the rules of this country, and that's another conflict. That, okay, one spouse can see this country, say USA, has very straightforward
Mm-hmm.
process, has very because it's a liberal country. It's in terms of like liberal. I'm not saying literally liberal,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of divorce, the rules are straightforward. It's very clear. So one spouse prefers that, okay, I want to take divorce here because I can get my 50% share, which I'm eligible for, or
Mm-hmm.
it, the process is, and I don't need to show the fault. Because in some country, if you need divorce, the country which have the restricted divorce culture, they think that, oh, you need to show that there is a fault in your spouse to file for the divorce. Here in USA, most of the states are no fault divorce, right? So it is straightforward. So one spouse prefers that I should get divorced here in this country, but another spouse who has to share everything, he would prefer that I'll go back to my home country and divorce, because then I don't have to share my property. I don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't make it so easy for the other spouse. So yeah, this is also I have seen. But to answer your question, if you are divorcing in this country, which has very clear, say, 50-50 property distribution, and if you have some property out there in your
Mm-hmm.
home country, and your home country doesn't support the same rule, but since you are divorcing here, you can still claim for the property there,
Okay.
but but you need to have some evidences. That's what I'm saying. It
Mm-hmm.
prolongs your process. It gets expensive. You need to hire some experts or investigators. So it doesn't
Yeah.
become said that easy compared to the culture, which easily accept divorce, which can easily follow the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess it's like I always say, instead of feeling all these overwhelming, I always make that metaphor. It's like an ant eating an elephant. You have to take little bites, right?
Exactly.
Because if you think of it in a huge picture, it's going to be too overwhelming, right? And that unfortunately can make you shut down.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, and that's why they need people like you who specialize in this, immigrants and expats, because
Yes,
it's as I've learning from you, it's a lot more complicated at
it
times
is. It is.
than it is if you're just from the country you're
From
at
the
and you're
country
married.
itself.
So, and that's
Mm-hmm.
complicated enough,
If it
right? So
is.
it's just an
Yeah.
added layer. But I just want to know if anybody has any questions or if anything else you want to say before we wrap up. I don't see any, there's no comments. So do you have anything else that you want to add before we go? Do you have anything that's going on coming up that you want to share?
Um, so just the tip is that I always say, and I'll still repeat today, educate yourself. Even if you don't have to go through, and I wish nobody has to go through this, but educate yourself. Keep your resources ready so that at least you feel confident, you feel relaxed, and you know where to reach out, who to reach out to when needed. So that's just the tip. And yeah, I have my one masterclass coming up,
Mm-hmm.
which is for actually dependent spouse, like spouse who are on dependent spouse visa and like to divorce,
Mm-hmm.
but then they want to stay back in this country. So what are the options for them? What they can do to stay back in this country? So I'm having one masterclass I'm conducting next month with one immigrant lawyer. We
Oh,
both are
good.
doing it together to just educate people. So if you or anybody who knows this can be helpful, please join. It would be most probably, I will declare the date, it would be most probably in the first or second week of September.
Good. That'd be very informative for
Yeah.
many. So, and plus, when we're talking about resources, to start off, you could also just look at your website or my website and
Yes.
you look at blogs. Like you start off that way. You listen to podcasts. You
Yes.
start leaning into learning more, right? Because
Exactly.
I don't want people to avoid, right? Because
Mm.
when we avoid, I call it the ostrich syndrome, where you put your head in the sand, then we can get more problems. So, anyways,
Exactly.
it was a great talk. Look forward to having you on again. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, and if you want to learn more about cultural differences, you can check my blog as well. Those who are online or listening to us later on, I have a blog on these cultural differences too. Thank you, Karen, for having
Thanks.
me.
All right. Take care,
Bye.
Neepa. Bye.
Take care.